Okay, welcome to SIG Apps. It is March 20th, 2017. We're going to start with announcements, get some updates on how 1.6 is coming along, have a demo of OpenCompose, and then do some regular stand-ups after that. So, fun agenda. Let's get started. I'll hand it off to Antoine first thing to talk to us about the in-person SIG Apps meeting in Berlin.
Hi, everyone. So yes, next week will be the KubeCon in Berlin. So we organize an in-person meeting. We're going to send you a form so you can RSVP to say if you're coming. The room is limited. Also, a question about which topic you want to about and which formats you want to be discussed, and from the response, I will probably send out another email with a agenda for next week. So it's going to be Tuesday at the conference center from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Feel free to ask questions and please complete the form if you plan to attend it.
Awesome. Thank you, Antoine. Any questions about the Berlin meeting? Okay, so since we're doing the in-person Berlin meeting on March 28th, we will not have an online Zoom meeting on March 27th, but we will have the meeting the week after. So just to note. Okay, and if you have any items, since we're coming to a close on 1.6, the tentative release date is still March 22nd. I've added a planning document, a working document, for 1.7 to the agenda under the announcements section. So if you have items that you're wanting to work on for 1.7, please track them there, and we can talk about them during our 1.7 section the week after KubeCon. Okay, so let's go right into updates from core. So Antoine or Dan, do you have any PM rep updates for us on 1.6?
So 1.6 for SIG Apps is known. So it was like the demand update. So you can update demand sets, and other feature is like it's more like getting more information when a deployment resource fail, getting more feedback about why it gets rolled back. So also from the PM side, we are reviewing and modify the feature template. So it's much more easy to fill the template. There is much less field, and also it's previously it was like we have to always update the initial issue, and now it's just like one time we write it once and then we iterate through comment and on the issue itself. So this is the news from the PM side.
So this is the feature tracking document you're talking about that the PM rep group and the PMs use, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Dan, do you have anything to add?
I heard the tail end of that, but it sounds good with the feature tracking document. So that was the main thing.
Okay, great. And we're still at 0 issues under SIG Apps, and we don't have anything that we need to do on our side, right?
Yeah, I checked that about 30 minutes ago, and I think we're good. Okay,
great. So I'll just lump the next set of updates. Does anybody have anything to add up on stateful set, the daemon set update feature, and deployments and replica set? Are there any outstanding bugs along those lines that may not have to do with 1.6 that you want to talk about? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So if nobody has anything to add from the updates for Kubernetes Core, we'll move on into our first and only demo for today. So Tomas is here. He's going to talk to us about OpenCompose, which is a higher level abstraction for Kubernetes resources. Tomas, take it away. Please feel free to introduce yourself and go ahead and go into your demo.
Thanks, Michelle. So, hi all. I'm Tomas. I work for Red Hat, and I'll be demoing OpenCompose project today. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so OpenCompose, the goal of the project is to make it easier for developers to onboard Kubernetes. And OpenCompose spec itself, it's declarative higher abstraction for Kubernetes resources. So in easy way, if I put it easy way, we are trying to make the syntax for Kubernetes a lot easier. And actually Kubernetes is focused more on kind of infrastructure descriptions, and we want to describe applications. So we are trying to make it really simple for developers to use Kubernetes. I have two examples today for the demo. One will be Nginx, and the second one will be WordPress, which will use the OpenCompose syntax and the tool to generate Kubernetes resources and then be deployed to the cluster. So let's start then. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen, which would be really cool.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so this is a really simple example in our GitHub repository for OpenCompose, which is just a simple Nginx server. So if we look at the spec a bit into detail, there is a versioning information which is not important. There is a services which kind of describes the microservices you want to deploy to the cluster. So we have one, which is named Hello World, and it has containers which are translated into pods in Kubernetes. So they are planned, they are scheduled on the same node as pod would be. And we also define ports for every image, and there's a port mapping which tells you that the internal port in the container, which is 8080, should be mapped to external port, which is 80, which will be a service port, and the service type will be external, so it will actually generate one deployment and one service, and that service will be exposed as a load balancer or on port 80. And I will actually show you right now. So for the OpenCompose spec, there is also an OpenCompose tool. They are bundled together. You would use command OpenCompose convert. So for those who already know the Kcompose, which is in Kubernetes incubator, and I think it's most started project there. This is a bit similar, but the Compose tool itself is meant for users who already have Docker Compose, and it's meant for them to be moved to Kubernetes. What we are trying to do with OpenCompose is for the new users which don't use Docker Compose to have a simple spec which will be application focused and will make it really easy for them to run their application on Kubernetes. So that's the difference between the two projects. And why we actually moved away from, part of my team is also working on the Kcompose project. And the reason why we are moving away from Docker Compose is because it can't actually describe all the things that Kubernetes can, like pods and other stuff. It just assumes there is one container and that's it. So they were hacking it through labels and all the stuff. And this is kind of a clean start when we can actually influence what the format for the OpenCompose spec should look like. So yeah, let's convert the example. For the simple spec, we had like, I think it was 8 lines. We will generate all the necessary resources to be deployed to Kubernetes. So if we look at those, we can see that it generated deployment, some labels, rolling update strategy, and here's the image that should be used and the internal 8080 port. And it also generated a service which exposes the port 80, and it's of type load balancer, so it will be accessible outside of the cluster. And it's like 40 lines, and the point is that user can actually write the OpenCompose spec from memory, because it's kind of really simple, but not sure how many of us can actually write the necessary Kubernetes resources just from the memory. So yeah, there's a lot more generated from the spec, which aims to be really simple for the developer to use. And I also have another example before I actually deploy it to cluster. So we have a more complicated example, which is a WordPress, which actually requires a database. So if we look at the definition in OpenCompose, it actually defines 2 services. One is a database, which uses MariaDB image and some environment variables for it. And it exposes the internal container port. And this is one thing, we actually default to the service port. So the service port will be same as the internal port, which is 3306. And it will be only an internal service. So this will generate service of type cluster IP, which won't be accessible outside of the cluster, because the type is by default internal. And it also has a web interface, which is the actual WordPress. Also some environment variables to actually connect it and to have a password and stuff like that. And it will be running on port 80 in the container, and also there will be a service port 80, which is, as you can see, type external. So instead of cluster IP, we'll generate a service with type load balancer, and it will be accessible outside of the cluster. And this is like, it's 25 lines, but developer can actually describe more complicated application this way. And to me, this syntax seems like really easy for developers who are starting with Kubernetes. So let's actually look into what will be generated from it. Oh, sorry. Zoom is kind of in my way. Yeah. So if we look at what was generated for the WordPress example, it generated a lot of stuff, and again, it is a deployment for the database, the environment variables, the image it was specified, and a lot of other stuff that the developer didn't need to specify, and again, the port mapping, which maps port 3306, and yeah, there will be another deployment for the web interface. Again, the environment variables, the WordPress image, which it will be running, and the container port 80. And it also generates a service for every deployment. And the first one for database will use a cluster IP because it's only internally exposed on the port. And it will also generate a second service, which will expose the web interface through type load balancer on port 80. So yeah, this was a bit about the tool, and let's actually deploy it. I'm using OpenShift and the OC tool, but the same would actually work with kubectl and pure Kubernetes here. So it is deployed in the cluster, so we can actually look at it in a nice way through web browser. So the first Nginx example was deployed into this namespace, and it's exposed as a load balancer. So if we access this IP, we will see the Nginx web page. And also the second one, which was the more complicated WordPress. So yeah, there's a database. This is only cluster IP. And here's the publicly accessible type load balancer for the web interface. Yeah, and we actually have WordPress running. So just quickly, I will put something in there. So we can actually see it's working with the database. So hopefully it will work. Yeah, great. And we have a WordPress running. And the point of it all is it was really simple for user to actually define the application. It was 8 lines for the Hello Nginx Word example, and it was like 25 lines for the WordPress example. But actually, developers starting with Kubernetes can write it almost immediately, and it's more friendly than the Kubernetes resources. So this is our goal, to make it simple for the developers to start with Kubernetes and use it. And I hope I didn't skip much of what I wanted to say, so I think it's time for the questions. Thank you.
I'll just jump in and say, this looks nice. I like the simplicity. Nice job.
Yeah, I like that you've kind of baked in the best practices with the convert command. I have a few questions actually. So I just want to confirm that you'd have to have a Kubernetes cluster or Minikube running as a prerequisite to use OpenCompose. Is that correct?
Yeah, it just converts the resource. It just converts the spec to Kubernetes resources. So then you actually deploy it by the usual tools like kubectl, and you need a running cluster for it.
Okay. All right.
After the conversion can be done offline without the cluster.
Gotcha. And then how does a developer know which environment variables to set? Do you see have you thought about a workflow for that? Do you imagine somebody who has deeper knowledge of Kubernetes kind of giving a developer a template to kind of fill out, or how do you see that working?
I'm not sure what you mean, because those environment variables are actually needed by the image itself. So it's usually documented either or Docker Hub or anywhere else with the image.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, great. Awesome. Does anybody else?
So if you have an update, what is the workflow? Do you update the OpenCompose spec and regenerate the file, or what's the expectation about updating service?
Yeah, the expectation is that the Kubernetes resources are only a temporary thing you need. You can only keep the OpenCompose definition, and if you change it, you generate it again and use kubectl apply or whatever would be your regular flow. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
So what percentage of the cubes, like the Kubernetes object definition, do you want to cover in this sort of simplified syntax?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would say we are starting small, but we have just started in about a month. There were some previous attempts at OpenCompose, but we rebooted the project a month ago. So we probably don't want to cover all of it, but let's say the stuff 80 or 90% of users will actually need.
Good strategy.
Have you looked into the pod reset concept that sort of is coming in 1.6? Like in there is something new called pod reset, pod preset, where you can, like, some admin can actually like write part of the spec, like the environment variables or some of the other configuration stuff, and then when you create a pod, it will actually automatically inject into that, and that can take care of a lot of the sort of presetting stuff, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I actually haven't looked at it, but I'm not actually sure where you are heading, because if we think kind of high level, you will need definitely more stuff, and we are trying to make OpenCompose about application definition. So as you could see, there is a port mapping, which in Kubernetes is actually divided into servers and either deployment or pod underneath. And we are trying to make it a bit more high level. So it's not just about you need to define a lot of stuff for pod, which you may end up defining anyway or use the new thing you talked about. But generally, we're trying to describe application.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Tomas.
Yeah, let me just say at the end that we would really welcome your feedback. So come talk to us on GitHub or mailing list, and we are definitely open to suggestions of how this should look like to work for everyone. So yeah, thanks for the floor, Michelle.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll put that information in the minutes for everyone.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's go into stand-ups. Matt Butcher from Helm, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, so we are getting close to the 2.3 release. Last week we released 2.2.3. The week after KubeCon on April 5th is the planned day right now. We will release 2.3.0, which has a whole bunch of new features. And many of the people in this room have contributed new features and bug fixes to this. The one thing that we are just a little bit behind where I'd like us to be, I tried to get a whole bunch of new best practices docs in for this release, and we are lagging a little bit on what I had hoped to have there. We've got it kind of scaffolded out, but it'd be great to get some more on there. But otherwise, our challenge right now is to sort of wrangle everything and get it into shape. So we are looking forward to a good chunk of the core contributing team will be at KubeCon EU. If you can find us and flag us down, we'd love to talk about anything you've got to talk about as far as making Helm better. So next week we'll largely be out there, and then the week after that is our 2.3.0 release. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, Butcher. And there will be an opportunity for everyone to meet the day before KubeCon in Berlin, so please join us for that. Last time we had a Helm working group there, and that was really, really nice and helpful. Okay, so charts team. Linky, do you have anything for us? I don't see anybody else from the charts team here.
Honestly, I'm just listening today, so I don't have anything.
Okay, thanks anyway. And welcome. Okay,
Thank you.
Compose. Other Tomas, you have something for us?
Yeah, just nothing really interesting. We are working on squashing some bugs, usually small ones, and improving documentation. But that's all.
Awesome, thanks. Have you looked into Kubernetes incubator graduation requirements at all?
Yeah, we are watching it. Yeah, we are looking at it.
Okay, sounds good. App controller. Hey, Patrick.
Yeah, so we are working on the Helm and app controller integration with the name of the rudders. And first app controller implementation of rudder is coming along. Also the native rudder, which doesn't change Helm behavior in any way, is soon ready to review. So we will let Helm folks know about that. And this is basically my part of the status, and I need to give ball to Jędrzej because he also has something to say.
Yeah, okay, so like speaking about other activities, so we bumped some Kubernetes requirements, like we are supporting latest 1.5 and 1.5 right now. We are currently still working on this, improving our CI to make it faster using Kubernetes DAND cluster tool by Ivan, also from Mirantis. And also we merged some HA improvements last week. And yeah, I forgot to mention that we are also working on this flow implementation, which will add some live case capabilities to app controller and other stuff also. The PR is already in review, but it will be split into smaller pieces pretty soon. Yeah, and that's probably all from app controller. Thanks.
Thank you. And CNR, Jimmy, do you have something for us?
Yep. So there's actually a lot for CNR this week. We're actually renaming CNR App Registry to kind of eliminate some of the confusion there. I feel like the most common question of CNR is, what is CNR? So it's an app registry. It's a specification for an app registry. So as a part of that, we moved the GitHub repo to github.com/app-registry. So you can find everything there. There's a skeleton for a specification that's being worked on there, along with reference implementation of server and clients. The client now has static builds available, so you can just download Helm plugin directly to the directory, untar it, and then start pushing to a staging instance we have running that is located at apps.quay.io. And you can actually start playing with all this stuff today. And later in the week, we're going to be working to actually release it on prod.quay.io, so you won't have to do apps.quay.io. All the data that gets pushed to apps.quay.io is going to be deleted by the end of the week, so it's a complete playground for anybody to play with, push whatever charts you want to it. If you want full instructions on how to actually download the Helm plugin and push to it, it's all on the CNR-client repo on the app registry namespace. And if there's any questions, I'm willing to answer questions beyond that.
Thank you. That's awesome. Does anybody have any questions on any of the stand-ups, Helm, Compose, App Controller, or CNR? Okay. So since that's all for the scheduled portion of this meeting this week, I just want to reiterate some calls to action here. It's from the beginning. So some things to note again are that we'd really love for you to RSVP for the in-person SIG Apps meeting in Berlin. There's a link in the agenda. There's no SIG Apps meeting next week online, and we're replacing that with the in-person one. CNR's got some fun stuff, so go check that out. Jimmy, if you could send the mailing list an email of all the details, that'd be
Yeah, I actually forgot to mention that I was going to do that.
perfect.
Yep.
One step ahead. That's awesome. Okay, and OpenCompose looking for feedback. And I think that's all. Oh, and if you have something that you're going to work on for 1.7, let's start. We've already started that planning document, so throw your item and your name on that document so we can start planning a little bit earlier for this cycle. Okay, so with that, we've got 30 minutes. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss or bring up or ask?
Yeah, so I had one item I wanted to discuss. I think last week on the Slack channel, I think somebody was discussing, like, basically there are some stable charts which uses like alpha features, like the volume alpha storage class in some of the stable charts. So I guess, I guess this is a question for the chart maintainers in a way that should like the stable charts not use any of the alpha features from Kubernetes, so that they don't break. Because what I have seen is that when they go from alpha to beta, they basically drop the support for alpha, and then when they go from beta to like full version, they usually have support for at least one release, so it doesn't break existing stuff. But from alpha to beta, they usually just break stuff. That has been my experience. So and one other thing is that if you create a Kubernetes cluster in GKE, Google Container Engine, they actually will delete your cluster if you use any of the alpha feature after 30 days. That's like when you say use alpha feature, enable alpha feature, that's the checkbox that they show. So that seems like a very strong indication that don't use it for anything production. So maybe you shouldn't do any stable stuff in there. Use any alpha feature in stable.
Yeah, it seems intense. Thanks for bringing that up. I don't want to speak for the charts team, but I know that there shouldn't be alpha features in stable charts. So let's bring this up with that team. Oh, Eric says he can answer. Go ahead, Eric. Okay, maybe I misunderstood.
Maybe in the meantime, yeah, I can confirm that it's documented that there's no alpha allowed in any stable chart from now on. That's all I know.
Okay, thanks. Eric is going to type up an answer, so when he has that, we can read that or send that out. In the meantime, does anybody have any other questions or discussion topics? Eric says he'll answer in the agenda. Thank you, Eric. Who's excited for KubeCon and Cloud Native Con?
All of us.
All of us. I like that you answered for everybody. Yeah, that's great. I'm very excited to meet everybody in person again. I hope that everyone can make it. If you can't, that's okay. We'll keep doing this. And one day we will all meet. Matt Butcher says this guy. Awesome. Great. So if nobody has anything else, we'll go ahead and end the meeting early, which is not a bad thing at all on a Monday. You can have 25 minutes back. And Eric is answering that question for you tomorrow in the agenda as we speak. And then we'll also touch base on that again the next time we talk, just to make sure we have that covered. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.